You are not unhappy because life is hard. You are unhappy because of the one invisible trap you've been living in without knowing. And today, we are going to break you out of it. So, before I explain to you how to truly become happy in life, you have to understand why you are unhappy in the first place. It's actually pretty simple. You are unhappy because of the gap between where you are right now and where you want to be. That's it. It's that simple. We human beings are really good at wanting stuff we don't have or wanting to be someone we are not. And we are very bad at recognizing how fortunate we actually are in our situation. Most of us are constantly focused on the future or the past, but barely in the moment. And it's really difficult to live a happy life when you are disconnected from yourself in this way. So in order to become more happy, you actually want to shorten and ideally close this gap. And there are essentially two ways to do this. The first one is the one most people attend and yet fail at. And spoiler alert, it's the wrong way to approach the problem. So this approach is about closing the gap by working really hard to get to your outcome. A typical example of this would be a guy who thinks he needs to own this car and this house and have X amount of money in the bank in order to be happy. So he works his ass off to get there. So in this approach, you basically try to go all the way to close the gap. The problem with this is that it costs a lot of energy and time. It will likely stress you out and you are essentially unhappy the whole way. And the worst thing is you may never even get there. So there is no guarantee that you actually can close the gap. But the craziest thing about this approach is that even when you attain what you wanted, your happiness will be very short-lived. Because very soon you will find a new goal or something you don't have and focus on that. So you opened another gap and there you are back in the unhappiness spiral. So this is obviously the wrong way to approach closing the gap. But there is a second way to close it, and in my opinion, it's the more sustainable and more practical approach. And that's about letting go of your goals and expectations entirely. And that's essentially the exact opposite of the approach I just told you about. Instead of working hard to get somewhere, you don't try to move at all. Instead of focusing on what you want or what you don't have, you are content with what you already have. That's the definition of true happiness. And it's a very fast solution if it works, if you manage to do so. If you want to own that car and that house, you probably have to work on that for many years and make a lot of sacrifices only to discover that it's not really making you happy. But if you just stop wanting it, all of a sudden you have everything you need, right? Now, before I tell you about how to let go of your aspirations, I want to address some of the doubts that might be popping up in your head right now. You might argue that having a mission is a good thing and that when you let go of all of your aspirations, you become lazy and never get anywhere. First of all, recognize that this is your mind being attached to this idea of success you learned about. And it's really difficult to step out of that frame. I get that. We believe that we have to do all of these things in order to be happy in life because we were raised this way, right? But that's a belief system rather than an absolute truth. Now, should you not have goals and aspirations at all? Yes and no. I think there's nothing wrong with having a mission or working towards a goal per se. But you should never be emotionally attached to it, right? Because that way you will become really unhappy, especially when you fail. Instead, you should let go of whatever your goals and aspirations are and be happy in the moment. Be happy before you try to accomplish anything. And then go about whatever it is you want to achieve and see it as a bonus. Now let's get into how to let go of your attachment to these outcomes. And it's not as easy as it sounds, just because you actually have to reprogram yourself. Changing your mind is hard and it can take some time. The first thing you can do is asking yourself why you want something. Because often this will uncover that you don't actually want the thing itself. An example would be that nice car we talked about earlier, right? Most people who want a nice and probably expensive car are not interested in the engineering or the pace. They want the status that comes with it. They want to be seen and maybe even envied by their friends, family, neighbors. They want them to look up to them, right? So it's not about the car itself. Understanding this will help you let go of the car. Because you have to recognize that the car won't give you what you want, and the problem you have is a psychological or a spiritual one and not a material one. Essentially, you don't feel enough, and no car in the world will fix that. Once you realize this, it will be way easier to let go of the idea that you need that car in order to be happy. The second thing you can do to be happy with where you are right now is looking at what you have instead of what you don't have and being grateful for it. Practice gratefulness every single day. I know it might sound cheesy, you probably heard of it before, but it works. It really does. So instead of thinking about how much happier you imagine your life to be if you only had that amount of money in the bank or these people in your life, look at where you're at and look at how rich you actually are already. Chances are you have everything you really need in life. Be thankful for that. The biggest obstacle, though, probably is detaching from norms and social pressures. There are a lot of things in life we actually want because we were told that it is important or desirable to have them or to be them. And so we are constantly comparing ourselves and the situation we are in to other people in order to determine whether we are living the right way and whether we are doing good in life, right? The worst thing is, in the age of social media, we are increasingly exposed to unrealistic standards. Also, people tend to present their lives as way better than they actually are, which actually adds up to the problem. So the only thing that really helps with this is acknowledging that these norms are based on a fictional idea. Someday, someone decided that you have to look this way or own this watch or wear these clothes in order to be cool or beautiful or whatever. And more people began to hold that belief until it became the norm. But just because a group of people says something is desirable, it does not automatically have to apply to you. You can adopt a belief or just totally ditch it if it does not serve you. And many of these beliefs can actually be pretty hurtful, especially if you don't seem to fit into the frame but desperately try to fill it for the sake of being accepted or liked. It can also be really helpful to acknowledge that what is cool or desirable is constantly changing, which shows that there is no actually hard truth behind these standards, right? I guess what I really want to say is you can decide what is important and valuable in life. So whether you are happy or not is totally up to you. Now, one of the biggest obstacles to living a happy life, in my opinion, certainly is your phone. Social media and endless scrolling sessions will make you miserable in the long run and keep you stuck in your head. So if you really want to feel present and at peace, watch this video about how to stop scrolling next. Bye-bye.